Right, welcome to the Powerful Lives podcast. We are here today with no other than Jo Reid. Jo's a mental health coach, and along with many other things. So let's have a chat, Jo, and see. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you got into this line of work.
Okay.
On the spot.
I didn't really grow up somewhere. That makes sense. I was kind of going back to the beginning. I was kind of born into a very hostile situation, and it resulted in a lot of instability, constantly moving. I think by the time I was 17, I'd had about 200 addresses.
Wow.
So yeah, it was growing up. So I didn't actually grow up in one place because I was literally a social services watch child. So I'd be going to school one day, and next thing social services pick us up, and they'd take me back, and the police would take us to a hostel for battered wives and all that kind of stuff, and we'd stay there, and I'd get settled, and we'd move to a new school. I'd moved to a new school. I was the only child at that point. And then I'd just start settling in, and then we'd go back, and the cycle just went on and on and on. So I was used to moving, and I'm very good at detaching because of that. So Liverpool was where I was born, and so I've kind of moved between Liverpool and Cheshire. So yeah, that was, and then everywhere else, literally, I've just kind of just moved and stuff. So I could never stay in one place for too long because it was alien to me. So yeah, I don't know where I've actually grown up.
How are you settled now? How long have you been where you are now? And when did you actually sort of start settling?
I'd say in the last 10 years.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you think
Yes.
I'm 54 next month, so it's kind of, yeah. But then I don't think I'll ever really want to settle. Do you know what I mean? There's always, but I've calmed down. I've found a little bit more stability.
And I take it because of your upbringing. Is that how you got into the whole mental health stuff?
Yeah. I kind of fell into it by accident. So, as you do, what we were talking before we came on.
Yep.
And I obviously had a very dysfunctional childhood. Very dysfunctional, very physically and mentally and emotionally abusive. And then when I was 15, I was also my mum's carer. So I was, how would you explain it? I was the brunt of everything that had ever gone wrong. My being born, like she was trying to get rid of me at the hospital, so you can kind of get an idea. She was only young, wasn't because she was horrible. She had her own stuff going on. She had her own issues, should we call it. So the fact that I took that role on as her carer, but also as her fixer. And then when I was 15, I walked in and I was met with a suicide. She took her own life. And then when you think things couldn't get any worse than that, it did. And then I was literally, by the time I was 16, I was just back off again into instability. We didn't have a big family. And I was living in hostels, bed and breakfasts, just trying to keep off the streets, that kind of stuff.
What about your dad? Just
That's another story. So who I thought was my dad, he was quite violently abusive, which is why we kept having to go. And I thought he was my dad, but it turns out he wasn't my dad. So hang on, I'm getting confused now. So anyway, he wasn't in the picture. And I think the worst thing about, it left me with my own issues, being abandoned, being rejected, being the caregiver, but being responsible for my mum's happiness and well-being. I took that on as a very, very young age because I was literally, it was drummed into me, if it wasn't for you being here, my life wouldn't be like this, kind of thing. Wow. So I've moved through my life with all of my issues, which the bag just got bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, I had suitcases, and then I had DHL, probably should have been driving around behind me. And the reason I went into this line of work, as I said, I fell into it by accident. I was actually headhunted at a course I did. I went into education. But one of the things that led me into this line of work was that my issues and all of the stuff that had happened to me, there was something inside me that I knew I wasn't going to go down some of the roads that were open and available for me to be going down. There was like this stubbornness and determination that I've always had in me, thank God, touch wood. But once I'd had my daughter, and then I'd had my own son, I'd had my son, I had my second child. And basically, I'd been running ever since. I'd been running, I'd been moving, I'd been trying to avoid. I was traumatised from 15 till probably about 18. I was traumatised. It resulted in me getting in a plane for 2 weeks and going to Tenerife and coming back like over a year later. Thankfully, I think that's what saved me. Because for the first time I got to know who I was. I was like the first time out of this kind of like, you have to be this type of person. I kind of found myself when Tenerife isn't the best place, but it was for me at the time.
Escapism.
Yeah, definitely escapism. But I was like, literally, it started where I felt like I healed a little bit where I kind of got, actually, I'm all right. I'm actually quite a nice person. I'm okay. And I found loads of friends over there, and it was just amazing. It was the first time I'd felt that. But when I had my daughter, life was also beginning to kind of mirror my mum and all that kind of stuff, and I ended up a single mum, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is it. But my mum had also left me with a subconscious download that she was 33 when she took her own life. That was me. That I knew, not consciously, but subconsciously, that was how I was going to end up. So when people said to me, or they on occasion would say to me, don't forget, nobody spoke to me about suicide. That was nearly 40 years ago. People would cross the street. And I learned back then not to mention that word suicide, and not even to mention that my mum had died in the end. So when people were kind of seeing me living in a hostel or a hotel or this, that and the other trying to survive, they kind of made assumptions, and nobody ever asked me. They just treated me. Society treats you a certain way.
Just judge you.
And you believe that. You take that on, because why wouldn't you? So all your beliefs and all your assumptions. And I think I've lost the thread of where I was a second ago, because I do this quite a lot.
That's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. When I had my daughter, I was in kind of quite, I didn't have a family, and I had a baby and stuff like that. Best time of my life, literally. And all the way through the pregnancy, I was like, oh my God, am I going to be like my mum? Is this, is this history going to repeat itself or whatever? And I fell in love with that child, and I knew what love was, and it was like unconditional love, and I still have that 30 years later. However, then after my son was born, I started, because I'd slowed down and I was in one place, it started to hit me, it all started to build up. Then the anger came. The anger came, especially when you're a mum who would do anything for their children, and you've just gone and done that, So I had to then process all of that. Then I was hit with an eating disorder because my body couldn't cope with everything, and then so I got anorexia. And then they sent me to see a psychiatrist who took me through my childhood and just had his head looking at his notepad the whole time. So I went through everything, put my guts on the table, and he nodded his head and he repeated everything back to me. And I said, well, I know I've just told you that, but I don't know what to do. I'm scared, and I've got 2 children. So he said, I'm going to give you some tablets that are going to make you feel better. I said, if you're not just listening to what I've just told you, my mum killed herself on antidepressants. I don't want to have them in the house. I want to find a way I can get around this without medication, without tablets. So then he put his head down and he lifted it back up again, and he said, well, how about in medicine form? And I just got my coat and I picked my coat up and I walked out of there and I thought, you know what, there's just no point. And I knew at that point, if I didn't start figuring things out, I was going to be dead. And I knew at that point that when I started moving into this line of work, I would never treat anybody like that. Never. It was so cold and clinical and just trying to medicate me on something that there was a way through it, there was a way forward, but you had to go and really go in deep and find that. And I managed to do it myself. And then everything I've kind of been hit with and this, that and the other and all that kind of stuff, my story has enabled me to kind of go, right, okay, smash, punch, this, that and the other, get up, fight again. But I've been able to turn that into so many positives to kind of have transformed people from that path to that path. And it's like, do you know what, I think that's the best we can do. And people will be like, wow, so I've got it all together and I've healed myself. And I haven't healed myself. I'm still healing. Anybody that's gone through any kind of trauma like that, you're never going to heal. And I think if you accept that, but keep healing, don't ever give up healing. You keep on with that journey and don't ever let it break you down, because society anyway is quite a difficult thing for us to try and be navigating in with all what we've got on social media and compare and despair and and just life in general. But when you're dragging that kind of stuff around, there comes a point when you have to let it go. There's a way to do it, you know? So how I managed to kind of survive getting past 33 was that I started writing down one day. I knew what was coming up. I was 32. I'd already kind of tried to make... I'd made arrangements so that if anything did happen to me, because I wasn't in control at this point, it was all a subconscious program. If it did happen to me, because I was very like my mum and all this kind of stuff, then my kids would be okay. But that wasn't what I wanted. It was what I was being told, that was what was going to happen. And I started writing everything down, and I wrote it, and then next thing it turned into a book, and it was like, okay. So I sent it to a good friend of mine who I'd worked with for 6 years, day in, day out, in education. And she rang me 2 weeks later. I'd moved by this time from London to Cheshire because I was in London for like 30 years. And she rang me and she was probably pissed off with me. And she was like, I feel like I don't know you. You didn't tell me any of this. One of my best friends didn't know. She probably knew a fraction of it. And I'd learned to keep everything in and deal with it and fix it myself. But run around fixing everybody else, because that was, again, a subconscious download that I had to... Everybody was my mother, trying to fix everyone and make everybody... So I gave all my needs away to make sure that everybody was okay, and I'd invest everything into you, and I'd be sitting there going, I'm okay, I'll fix myself.
Do you find that a lot of people do that? Because, I mean, I see people, the people I class as helpers are normally going through some sort of trauma or drama, and they help as a way of helping themselves. So it's almost maybe a cry for help, but they know what that other person's going through because they're going through it themselves and they want to help.
Yeah, you feel that pain and you want to help that pain. But then there comes a point where you also have to do your work. You have to be doing your work to be able to move that step. You need to be a few steps ahead of people so that you can help them and go, look, I was there. And here I'm here, but this is how I got there. Do you know what I mean? But not as you don't put that stuff onto people, but you kind of can guide them in ways that has worked for you. So one of the things I did, like I said, I wrote this thing, and then when I read it, and I called it "Suicide Kills Others," because it has such a knock-on effect, and obviously my view of suicide now is that it's the final disconnection from finding a solution for hope. You've lost hope. And I think as human beings, when we lose hope, that's the lowest. So what I did was I did think about kind of like, maybe I should go and get this published and everything else. And I thought, no, And I took her outside one day, got the kids taken to the park, and I took her outside and I put it on the barbecue, and it was all printed out, and I set fire to it, and I said goodbye to it, and I released it, and I said, you know what, they were your decisions, they were your beliefs, they were your actions, they weren't mine, and I'm no longer going to carry them around with me. And I'm no longer going to be, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I did this kind of work around it, and it was like massive.
Was it instant?
Yeah, it was watching it go up in flames. And to this day with my clients, I'll be like, write it down, because it's been proven now scientifically that it kind of does something within the brain and it moves that emotion out. But then when I've had clients and I've just met them and they've gone, oh yeah, I wrote it down, and I looked back a year later and it was under my bed, and I'm like, burn it. Don't keep it, burn it. Keep it moving. Do you know what I mean? Write it down as every day if you want to, but burn it. That's my top tip. It's your best friend, your best therapist. And you can write anything because you're not going to be judged. You can say anything. That piece of paper in your pen is your best therapist. It's your best friend at any given moment. But burn it and watch it go up and release it. Let it go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing is about our emotions is, and I try and explain this to people, it's like our emotions are like, it's like going to the beach. We love going to the beach and watching the waves. Our emotions are like waves. You can't hold a wave still. But yet with our emotions, and we're energy, we're all just energy moving through. But with our emotions, we keep them stuck and we keep them blocked and we keep them in and we internalise them and they get trapped in the body. But when you're kind of doing this work and you're moving it through your writing, it's massive, massive.
Powerful.
It is powerful. I mean, the crazy thing is I've had a friend of mine that's reached out to me on social media, was having a bad time now. I was having a bad time myself, but I felt really comfortable feeling like I was helping him. And, you know, I was like, how you doing? They're like, yeah, I'm not too bad today. I'm feeling better. And it was making me feel better that they felt better, but I still feel like shit. Like shit. And I remember one of the things I'd done when I got married, I said to my wife, I don't want to carry it up. We've all got rubbish that we're carrying around. I don't want to carry it around. Like, we've just got married. We're in Jamaica, a beautiful place. I said, I want us to have a lovely life. So I got an imaginary suitcase. I stood into the sea up to about my chest. It's ridiculous, but I got an imaginary suitcase, and I was packing stuff in there. My wife's looking at me, and I bet she thought, what's he doing? I was packing stuff in there, and then I threw the suitcase into the sea, and I was like, it's gone now. I'm not like, when we get out of here, they're gone. All of that pressure and stress and all the things I'm carrying around are at the bottom of the sea. So when you're saying about, you know, helping others and kind of healing their pain and stuff like that, I feel that, you know, I do feel that.
But why did you just say it sounds ridiculous?
I know, because
that's it's programmed, isn't it?
Exactly. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And we spend so much time as humans feeling powerless. Take your power back. That's you taking your power back. That's you. That's not ridiculous, but you see what I'm saying? I
always. I kind of, I'll say something and then I hear myself and I'll start kind of unloading, if you like, and then halfway through I'm like, oh, stop. I know it sounds a bit, that's how I am.
You think it's weak, but it's actually strong. Right?
Exactly.
Sorry.
But that's how we, you know, we're sort of men's men, you know, you know, you've got to be strong and this and that, and there's so much sort of stigma around it, whereas you do sometimes feel a bit silly to go, you know, are you right? And you go, I'm not actually, no. Like, I feel really low, and, you know.
But it's like me, my mess has been my message. Like, I've turned my mess into my message, and it's going to help it, and it has helped other people. So every time you as a guy will turn around and go, how are you feeling today? I feel awful. Like, I feel this, I feel that. You're helping you to kind of go, do you know what? And I'm going to own how I feel, because at the end of the day, whether you're a man, a woman, or a plant, you're human with emotions that are flowing through your body and programs that have been trapped up here on the loop from 0 to 7. We're in hypnosis stage from 0 to 7. We're being downloaded. It's literally like a computer program. And if we don't recognize that and do the work, you're just going to stay in that loop. And it takes people like you to go, do you know what, I'm not feeling crap today. Yeah. You know? Yeah. That's you taking your power back.
Yeah. And I've found the last few years, I've found it, I have talked, I've been sort of quite open with same as Jim has, it's quite open with our mental health, because everyone suffers, but not everyone tells you, and it is what it is. I've had days, listen, I've had many suicidal thoughts. Obviously, I knew you a few years ago, I went through a lot of bad stuff. I probably had 60 days out of that year where I thought about committing suicide. And I'd wake up and try and work out if it was worth it or not. That's life, especially when you push. If you push in life, sometimes it don't work. And you have to learn, for me, I've always really tried to be positive, but I've got to the stage a couple of times in life where it's been too much. And I have genuinely thought, I remember one day my missus going to work, and she genuinely didn't know if I'd be alive when she come back. Like, I was that bad. But I look back now, it seems like a long time ago, it doesn't, and again, you look and you almost laugh. But I found talking was the best thing for me at that stage. Like,
because you're moving it through.
Yeah, and you do.
And sometimes I think we're led to believe that it's like the wheel of life, and we're meant to be at the top of the wheel all the time. And if we end up at the bottom of the wheel, we're somehow failed, or we're failing, or we've got mental health issues. But you have to go and keep the wheel turning. So some days you are going to be up there, and you're going to be like, but it's going to pass. It's going to be temporary, and then you're going to be at the bottom. But then to get back up to the top, you're taking wisdom with you. You're taking something else with you to keep that wheel constantly turning. So I think that's another thing, that we feel that we've got to constantly be positive and at the top of our game all the time, but it's not realistic.
No, it's not.
And the other thing I want to mention is that, and I think it's really important, that I've not said mental health. I'm not a mental health coach, because I've been in mental health. I think before or after of the last time I spoke to you, I was within the NHS, within mental health, and I was taking patients who had been under therapy for a couple of years, and they were with me for a few weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Even the doctors are going like, what's going on? And I'm not miraculous. I'm not Jesus or anything. But I was working with them the way I was working with them, and it was getting the results, because I feel that we're over-diagnosing everybody with mental health issues. You've got mental health, and your mental health, and you go to see a doctor, or everything on the media, or it's mental health, it's mental health. Well, you know what? Through the work I've done for over 25 years, I feel that we need to be looking at people's emotional health. It's your emotional health, because it's like, okay, yeah, Jim, you've got mental health issues, and we're going to make you go over and sit in that corner for a little bit with some medication until someone can come along and fix you. What are we doing to people? And what are we doing to our young people? The stuff that my eating disorder, I was classed as mental illness, and I get that, but it was because my emotional health had been ignored. My emotional health was screaming at me for years, and I was ignoring it. My emotional health was being trapped inside me, and I was trying to deal with it and fix it myself and stuff. And eventually it's going to come up where all we think is we've got mental health issues. But I haven't got mental health issues. I have emotional health issues. I need to make sure that my emotional fitness is as best as I can keep it. Not just going to the gym and worrying about how big my muscles are. My emotional fitness is something that is my priority. It's part of my healing journey. It's part of me being able to go out and do the work that I do with people. But I feel that, like with men in particular, if I say to you, Jim, come to my mental health talk, you feel a certain way about yourself. If I say to you, let's come and do a workshop on mental and emotional fitness, does it hit you differently?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And the crazy thing for me is if someone said to me, like, I wouldn't go and speak to a doctor. I wouldn't go and speak to anyone about mental health. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Because I don't want that kind of, you write stuff down and then you give me a pack of tablets. I don't want that. But what I want to do is speak to people, say how I feel, kind of how I think. I'm not necessarily looking for an answer. This is just how I am. This is how I feel. And then I listen to your story, listen to Brett's story. And all of a sudden I'm like, do you know what? I'm not that different to you guys. I'm not that different. So straight away, I'm not an alien that's struggling, and you know, I start realising that actually I'm normal like everyone else. And the more I talk about it, I'm like, I am a positive person. I wake up in the morning and I strive to be positive. But you're exactly right. Sometimes I can't do that. Sometimes I feel like I could pick the world up. I literally can carry every one of you on my shoulders and off we go, no problem. Next day I haven't got the strength to make a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. That's me, you know. But the more I talk about that, the more I'm like, I realise that's how I am. That's how my life is, you know. But I don't fight the fact that I'm feeling on the floor now.
Yeah.
I don't fight that. I just think to myself, do you know what? I look at the time. It's, again, I'm going to keep saying it's silly. I can't help it because I'm not used to kind of talking out. So I look at the time and I think, right, I've got 12 hours before I go to bed. So get through these 12 hours. I get through the 12 hours and I make sure that I wake up in the morning and I'm different, you know, and I feel different. And I tell myself before I go to sleep, tomorrow morning, Jim, we're not having it. Let's get ourselves sorted. And straight away I wake up in the morning and I'm like, right, I'm determined to be better today. I'm determined to be okay. But as I said, the more I talk, the more I realise I'm not different.
My life and everything that has gone on my journey, all I ever wanted to do from a child, when I used to be in the back of the car driving and you'd look into people's houses and you go to school or people's mum and dads, I just wanted to be normal. All I ever wanted was just to be normal. And you know what? Now you can stick normal. Because there's no such thing as normal. My normal is my normal. And I can change that whenever I want to. So this whole thing about you feel not normal or we don't feel normal, we've got there is no normal. We're all sitting with some kind of emotional and mental and spiritual health. We're all sitting there and we're all trying to navigate through. And the more we're so disconnected now as society, you know, and the more we come together and the more we speak. And it's not even so much sometimes what I say to you. It's you can sit in front of... I've worked with professional footballers and they've had the top sports psychologist been given to them and there's not been anything come from it. And I've gone in there and obviously this happens. I might have a few clients and it's not, you know, as good as another therapist. I'm not saying like I'm whatever, but in these cases, I will sit with this footballer and I get very fast results with people because I don't allow, we don't sit and we don't fester on stuff. We don't need to do that. But it's the energy. You have to have a certain energy. And that's what I'm trying to, any stuff that I had in the past. Do you know where I go with most of my clients? The woods, the forest. I had a client last Sunday, met him at the forest. I took my little bag. I took 2 penguin biscuits because that's all I could find. It was too early. And a blanket. And I found somewhere and we sat down because he had a lot to unpack. And we sat down next to a few trees because I've done courses on, I love how the energy from trees and the Wi-Fi and all this kind of stuff, their Wi-Fi, how it helps us as human beings in nature. But anyway, I will go anywhere, everywhere as far away from a clinical environment as possible because I hate them. I'll climb a tree with you if it means that we're going to get to what we need to get to. But your energy, and I'll say this to anyone, wherever you're going, wherever you're spending money, whether you're sitting in front of a doctor, whoever it is, and you're sitting there with, you want help with how you're feeling, your emotional, your mental health, make sure that person you feel is actually listening to you. That's my most important thing. You're seen in your head, but you're actually acknowledged. Do you know what I mean? Because there is a little bit of a tendency, as you said, to be very much, okay, clinical, let's talk about everything, book in next week. And that's kind of, I just feel that we're moving away from that. We're into more of a healing state. I think we're all moving more into a healing. We're acknowledging that quantum healing and quantum science and energy healing and vibrational healing has actually got a lot more to do with people's well-being than just talking about your problems. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, fresh air, mountains, hikes, that's therapy,
with people.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of memes about sort of sobriety and this, everyone gives up drinking and goes and climbs a mountain. But I think there is some truth in that, because they do find themselves, they do try and they find what works. And I mean, I used to go and do quite a lot of mountains, and never done it for that reason. But you feel so good, you're surrounded by, sometimes you're up at 4. I remember I took my missus to Snowdon. She thought I was crazy, and we drove up there one night and we slept in the car, and we started getting ready at 2:30, went up at 4:00, beat the sun up, like sunrise at the top of Snowdon. It was like, I'm still talking about it now, that was 6 years ago. It was like, them things are just unbelievable. You're buzzing for weeks just off of doing that.
Because you've disconnected and you're becoming more centred within yourself and who you are and what makes you happy.
And your phones don't work up there. Most mountains, your phones don't work. And I think that's disconnect to reconnect, as they say. Like, I think it's really important that...
Well, I just wrote a little book called, last year I wrote a little book, and it's just called A Simple Guide to Mastering Your Superpowers. And it's just a gentle introduction for people to understand that you have the power. You don't have to give it away to everybody. You have the power already, and it's what that is and how you can utilise it and how you can start doing things for yourself, like today. So, that's kind of where I'm at. I like the whole energy psychology, and I work with like frequency healing and all that kind of stuff, because that's how our cells vibrate. And I think we need to stop just looking at mental health as if it's just this thing in the brain, and understand that we have like 80 trillion cells in our body that are communicating with everything and everything all the day. We need to be looking after them as well, because they're vibrating, and if we can raise their frequency and their vibration to where they want to be, it helps us to feel better. It can cure a lot of things as well. I won't get to a whole other podcast, but there's a lot more.
Do you think a lot more people are getting into this and understanding the whole vibration thing? Because I know 2 or 3 years ago, if you sat here going, oh yeah, vibrational fix you, I'd be like, all right, love, whereas now I understand, because you see so much more about it, and I'm sure it's not for everyone. And again, there'll be people listening now who are thinking, all right, mate.
Frequency healing, they're actually bringing it into healthcare. Yeah. I'm not going to quote anything, but there's been certain things that have already been done within the medical world where they've targeted tumours with a frequency, because it shatters that and it saves the rest of the cells and all that kind of stuff. Because I could bore you stupid on all this stuff, but I find it fascinating, and I'm still alive from certain things myself, because I've listened to my body and not what I've been told to take and not what I've been told to do, or that kind of stuff. So
I think it's very interesting, I must admit. I mean, I'm one of these people that if I've got a headache, I won't take a tablet. My wife will say to me, I'll never take a tablet. My dad was on about 6 different tablets a day right up until he died. I won't take a tablet. I'll try and, I'll look at a chili, or I'll look at turmeric or something. I'll try and find something like that to kind of make me feel better. So, I mean, I'm really interested in the frequency healing, and I've never heard of your emotional kind of health. I've always talked about mental health.
Nice spin,
I don't feel right, so it's mental health is mental health. But I'm actually sitting there and thinking, you know what, like what is mental health and what's emotional health, and that's where. Yeah. Well,
when I saw my client last Sunday, he's got like a build-up of things. He's got a very pressurised, position and all this kind of stuff. And he come to me and he was like, and he poured out everything, and he's struggling, and he kept putting to his head and all that. And after about half an hour, I said, "What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you up there." And by the time we finished, it was like a different fellow was sitting in front of me. Because we looked at what actually it was, and it was his emotional stuff. And as a man, he wasn't talking about it, and he was keeping it all in and stuff. And where we were, if I had to taken him into a clinical environment, we wouldn't have had the same outcome. So you've got to gauge. This is my job, so I'll gauge. With you, I might think, you know what, Jim needs to be in an office with me. Jim needs that, but I know Brett, me and you need to go and climb up a flipping mountain.
Or an orange tree.
An orange tree.
It's a lemon tree, actually. It's a lemon tree.
Because I'll work with your energy. I'll work with your energy, and that's about. But I also pick up on energy. I'm very, there's not many. I always meet people before I work with them because I need to know that I've got that thing where I can get results with you, and that we've got that thing. There's only ever been in 25 years 2 people I've kind of gone, I'm not feeling it.
I remember the first time we met, I sat down with you for about half hour, and it weren't like a clinical session. And after about half hour, I went, Jesus. And it was like, she basically sort of stripped me emotionally bare and sort of laid it all out. And I sort of sat there and went, yeah, like you bang on really. Like, it's like, but you kind of, I think everyone puts a bit of a mask on, and you're very, very good at what you do, which
Thank
obviously
you.
why you get the results. Like,
I mean,
Sorry, Jim.
No,
but
sorry,
up
no.
until then, did you think you had mental health issues?
no, not really. No, I mean, no, not really. I mean, I've always put it down to, I've said this previously on the podcast, but I think our emotions, we're on waves, and if we push to be successful or push in sports or whatever, we see a lot of highs. Some people will just run through life on a mean, on a median, whereas if you push and you get the highs, it's great, but it then means the lows are lower, and I think you sort of cycle, and that's why I've always looked at my mental health. I think you push and you hit them highs. I suppose it's a bit like if you go out and you have a great night and you get really drunk, well, you're up there, and then all of a sudden, you're now down here because you've now got the come down from alcohol. And I've never really classed myself as having mental health issues, but I would class myself as that I've struggled. I think again 3 years ago I probably would have thought I was on my own, whereas now I realise that there's loads of other people that do, and I'm not a manic depressive.
Yeah.
I love life the majority of times, but we have lows. Like yesterday was a rough day for me. Yesterday was a really rough day. I woke up, I relived my dad dying for 3 hours. Went through it minute by minute up till 8:05, which when he died. By 10 past, I started feeling better. But then that's probably normal. Most people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's your cycle. That's how you
that's
deal with it.
yeah.
But I think one of the things that, to go back on what you said, that just hit home at me, I have to be genuine. I've really been looking forward to meeting you today. I really have been. I've been so interested. I mean, I look at your stuff on Insta and stuff like that, and I was really interested. And I said something to my wife, and I'm going to be very truthful here. I said, I'm really interested to listen, because what I don't like is the one size fits all. We're all got mental health, or we all need to be treated this way. What I really like is when you turn around and said, I might need to come in the office to talk to you. Brett might need to go up the tree. And I was like, okay, so it is individual. It's not just a blanket thing of like, right, yeah, that's you, that's your label, and off you go. And I like that. I really like that. And that's where I have to say that's kind of been a massive eye-opener for me. Massive, I have to say.
Saves me a lot in office rent anyway.
I can't climb trees though. It's kind of program, if you like.
Conveyor belt.
Yes, yes.
Tailor-made service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bespoke.
Yeah,
I like it.
that.
I like bespoke.
Yeah.
And I think you've also got to talk people's language as well. So if you're like a car mechanic and you're a bus driver, I'll kind of adapt what your language is more. There's no point me talking to you as if using the big science and like I'm gonna talk to you on your language. Like for me, like if things become, I love learning about the complicated and everything else, but you start talking to me about it, I switch off. Like I just talk to me simply. Keep it simple is my motto. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's one of my pet hates. Is people trying to overcomplicate things to make themselves look a little bit more cleverer. And is that a word?
It is, yeah. I use it, to be fair. I use it.
Yeah.
I use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what I noticed with you. You broke it down really basically, and that was where I was a bit like, right, and you could go for a therapy session with someone else who would try and look really intelligent and use loads of big words and wouldn't actually give you what you need. You know, I think it's layman's terms, and that's what really makes you sort of go, yeah, you're bang on.
And I don't even like the term therapy session. I don't even like that, but I like having a chat. We're having a chat, and that to me, I don't know. I found myself kind of opening up a little bit, and a lot of what we spoke about has actually kind of made sense to me. It's actually dropped to me, and I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? We're very quick to say, my mental health's bad today, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure my mental health is bad. I don't need this kind of fix, or it's not like I'm missing a fuse in my brain. Do you know what I mean? It's and that really did reside with me, and I think it's going to lead us on to.
Which is brilliant to hear. If that one thing has come out of today, then it was worth a 94-hour drive. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But just that thing, like, you're not broken. None of us are broken. I stay in my lane as well. There's mental illness and all the neurodivergent. That's not my lane, so I wouldn't ever want to try and step into that. And there's professionals that are perfectly capable of doing that. But my message to the clients that I work with is that you're not broken. You're not. I don't need to fix you. I just need to kind of go, you know what, let's find out where we are. Let's find out where you are. Let's find out where your emotional health is sitting right now. Let's listen to what you're not listening to. Let's do the work. And like everybody else, you'll be skipping off, until the next time but the more that you do that, and I think the thing is when you work with somebody like me, you're more in tune with listening to your body. You'll be recognizing things that you go, I know what that is. So you won't just kind of shut it up and shut it down and keep it in. And so you might even ring up Brett and go, do you know what? I'm feeling like this today, which you necessarily would, when the beginning of the podcast, you've been saying that's ridiculous, throwing the suitcase in, or that's silly, that self-talk that I will break those patterns with you so you wouldn't even have them back in your brain again. They'd be gone. They'd be replaced with something else. Our brains are only designed to do what we tell them. They know no different. And it's like, I don't know whether you've done heard of the lemon test, but if you sit there now and I've given you this half of a lemon, look at it, this beautiful half of a lemon, and I'm going to ask you to go and take it to your mouth, and think about licking it. You should start to feel the saliva in your mouth. Yeah,
because you think it's going to be sour.
And that's the power that we have as humans. We know that there's no lemon, but because we're telling our brain that, our brain's going, okay, let's get everything going to digest it. So if you can just use that as a little example, you can see how much we can change things very rapidly and very quickly.
Is this brain training?
Yeah, it's just reframing. It's just changing the neuro kind of patterns and behaviours that are just sitting there because we haven't changed them. It's like your phone. If you don't do your upgrades on your iPhone or your phone, what happens? It doesn't work properly. So you do an upgrade and it's like, bingo, we all start running on the same system that you should be running on. And I think that's what I've always said that years ago. Like, I come in and just get rid of any viruses and do an upgrade and then help you to recognise when you need to do the reset, the upgrade button yourself.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at life, really. Yeah.
And because I've gone through my own journey, I will come in no matter where you are on your journey. I'll come and sit with you wherever you are. There's this thing as well which really annoys me about like therapy, where you'll come into me and I'm sitting here as the all-seeing, all-knowing, wisdom owl. And you're down there broken with all of these issues, and but there isn't. It's literally we're sitting together on the floor, me and you. I'll sit with you, and I'll stand with you, and I'll help you to stand up, and then we'll walk together, And the more I think that we can have that approach and have a more humanistic, heart-centered approach to dealing when somebody's kind of in that place where they can't see the light. I just come in and shine a light. I just come in and shine the light when it's dark, And I've had that dark cupboard. In fact, I've had my bloody name on the door. Do you know what I mean? I just put my name over it. It was there for that long. But all you want is someone to just come in and shine the light. Do you know what I mean? And that in itself, it's massive. And that's why I want to see like a change in the way that we deal with emotional health.
I love that. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and I think that light, like you say, that light's so important. Just, I know sometimes it's hard to see, but once you realise it is there, like we've said before, you look back and 6 months down the line, you look back and you think, what was all the fuss is about?
Yeah.
But you've got to get through the first day, the first hour, the first day, the first week, and it's not always as easy as it sort of sounds. But
No, it isn't. But then you do look back and you think, Jesus, and some of the people I work with, I go, as long as you just keep putting that one footstep, and myself, I've done it myself. You think, how am I ever gonna? You just put that one. As long as your commitment is to put one foot in front of the other every day, just if that's all you can do, then just do that, because other things will come. But one day you'll turn around and you'll go, oh my God, I was all the way back down there. And it's like I've taken everything on my journey and I've kind of gone, you know what? Like, I'm grateful for it because I've got no other choice, because otherwise I'd just be a victim to it all. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor, but I'm not even just a survivor. I've what's the word? I don't know how to put it into words really, but I'm grateful because I've been able to work through and recover. I'm still here. Let's put it that way. There's a loads of times when I shouldn't have been here. I'm still here. And then I look at other people's stories. Like, I'll listen to the news or I'll listen to people, and I think I'm so grateful for my hard, because I couldn't have dealt with that hard. I couldn't have dealt with what that person's dealt with. And then that person will look at somebody else and go, do you know what, I'm grateful for my hard because I couldn't have dealt with that. And I think the more that we come out, and as I said, I've kept everything in for years because I didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable, because I learned that as a program. If I talk about things, and especially mention the word suicide, it makes people uncomfortable, so I didn't ever mention anything. But as I said, the more that we start just shining our light and going, do you know what, like, we're all sitting here, we're all carrying around something, and it's not about trying to be normal. There is no normal.
And who wants to be normal?
Who wants to be normal? Because I certainly don't.
See, I mean, my nan used to hit on something, and she always used to say it to me. And in one way, it helps, but in another way, it doesn't. And this is where I think I get that normal mentality from, because she used to say to me, you know what, there's someone out there begging for your problems. She went, honestly, Jim, there's someone out there praying for the problems. What you think's your problem, someone out there is saying, I wish I had his troubles, I wish I had his problems, which then makes you kind of send this conscious message around saying that, well, I'm fortunate, really, I'm really fortunate, but you're still not actually dealing with why you're feeling the way you are. But you keep telling yourself, no, I'm lucky, I'm good, I'm lucky. But in actual fact, you should be allowed to kind of scale down and say, no, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. But it's okay not to feel okay without being cliche. It's okay to feel that, because I know tomorrow it could turn around, and it will turn around. But I was always of this mentality of, you should be really grateful. You should be really, I am grateful. I'm grateful every day of my life. But I need to realise it's okay to feel like shit. Yeah, it's okay to feel that.
I think as well, a lot, like, we always look up. We always look up at what we want rather than looking down at what we have. And, like what you're saying, there's always be someone who sits there. There's that like meme where the guy's looking at, the guy's he's in his Ferrari, but he's looking at the yacht and he's like, oh, I wish I had a yacht. And then there's it sort of keeps coming down the scale, and there's a guy on a bike looking at the guy in the car and he's like, oh, I wish I had a car. And then it goes and there's a guy walking down the road going, oh, I wish I had a bike. And then there's a guy in a wheelchair going, I wish I had legs. It's like, and it hits hard. You sort of go, it ain't that bad, But
I think we're designed, well, my personal opinion, I'm designed to, as you said, I look up, I don't look down. Yeah. But I need to realise it's okay to just stop and look about where I am. Yeah. Without looking up or down, I'll look about where I am now, what's going on in my life now. We've all got goals, dreams and aspirations of where we want to be. I don't really want to look back to where I've come from, because I don't really want to do that. But I think every now and then it's okay for me to kind of look, this is where I am now in my life. This is me. Tomorrow we'll conquer the world tomorrow. We'll achieve all these dreams tomorrow. You know, we won't do it today, but we'll do it tomorrow.
And I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on, I want to be happy. I just want to be happy. And they try and find that happy. Whereas I've gone past that, and it's because for me, happy is a very temporary, short-lived thing. I just want to find peace. Like, I look for peace so that when I go to bed at night or wake up in the morning, I've got peace. Do you know what I mean? And that's for me, is because it's not temporary. It's something that I feel that is missing in our lives. It's just finding what makes you feel peaceful.
Yeah.
You know? And I would love to sit here and say that I get up every morning at 5 o'clock and sit and meditate. No, I couldn't think of anything worse for me, because I love me sleep. But also I've got a very busy mind. So for me, meditation is like quite hard. But then there's not just that one thing of meditation where you have to sit and be still. So for me, mine's music, or mine's out in nature, or you can, another thing I do now and again is when I want to just be still, is I'll get an orange and I'll cut it in half and I'll just smell the orange, and it takes me away. Something happens within your brain, and apparently smelling an orange can help to reduce depression feelings by up to 70%. So
really,
yeah. But I just smell an orange and it just cuts your brain off. It just disconnects everything, and it's very simple. That's my way of meditation if I don't want to be on the move, you know. But a lot of people go, I can't meditate. Well, nor can I, you know. I wish I could, but I've found my way of meditating. I found my way of cutting off and shutting off, and I think a good form of meditation is removing toxic people from your life. That's a good start to find your peace.
Yeah, I've tried meditating via audio books and things like that, and I use it to sleep sometimes. I've always been a bad sleeper, but that's about the only way I can do it. Again, getting up at 5 a.m, I'm envious really of anyone who can do that lifestyle and meditate like that, but that doesn't work for me. But I find music or even like say audio meditation, I can sometimes lay there and I'm gone, you know.
That's the key, isn't it? It's finding what works for you. What's your normal, you know, what works for you, not what I say should work for you, or what you read in a book, or it's find what works for you. And I think that's kind of what I've tried to write about in my book. It's just turn the TV off sometimes and try and learn a little bit more about how much power you truly have over your health, your emotional and your mental well-being, you know. So and it helps. That
brings us to a good point, actually,
yes,
Joe.
Very good point.
I have your book here.
Yeah.
Very good read. I'm impressed. Yeah, I'm impressed. I've obviously only flicked through a few pages, but I'm looking forward to getting into this tonight.
And where can we find this as well, Joe?
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. That's it.
Yeah.
Just find it. Just find it.
It's just a very simple introduction into energy and spiritual healing and things about like an empaths, and if you're an empath or if you think you're an empath, and it's, you know, you're very you take on the world's feelings and you can feel everything so deeply, and it can kind of mess up your emotional well-being and stuff. But, you know, for me, it's looking about why I'm an empath. But for years I was like, oh my God, when I realized I was an empath, it was like a aha moment. I was like so relieved I was an empath, and it made sense about how, because I don't actually just feel your feelings. I've had this weird thing, and I only found out writing this book what it was. It's actually a thing. If you cut yourself or you hurt yourself or see something on TV, like somebody's open, gashed or whatever, I get pains all in my stomach, all around my abdomen. I get pains now. I'm like, so it's like a thing in our house now. I'm like, so you're suffering with you, whatever your wound is, but I'm over there going, stop, because I'm in pain. And I just thought it was just a me weird thing. But apparently it's called somatic empathy. So I actually feel pain. And I didn't know it was a thing up until last year.
Mad, yeah.
But also, there's a thing, I've done this course thing, but it's like an empath can actually come from childhood because you had to be hypersensitive to your surroundings and to maybe the people in it and the adults and stuff. So some people are empaths spiritually because they've just been born that way, or there are other empaths who you've got to recognise whether or not it's because it's from a trauma, it's a traumatised, hypersensitive state. And if it is, then just kind of recognise that, and then you can work through it and learn best how to protect yourself.
Nice. And what's the next 5-10 years look like for you?
I'll probably be in a home. God willing. No, it's a bit of peace. I don't know. Do you know what? This year, I think, like I said, it's been I'm going to make this year count, I think, for some reason more than any other. I have to. Just got this thing. Because I think I've realised that I can't make it about everybody else and not have my needs met. I've got to start having my needs met first, and then everybody else can have what I've got left.
The male lion always eats first.
Yeah, so this year, whereas I've always kept myself hidden, I've always kept myself like this year I'm kind of like going to be stepping out a bit more. Yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, a lot of people will be watching this and they'll be obviously connecting. I'm no doubt people are going to connect exactly with a lot of what you're saying. As I said, I was really interested to listen today. So we've got the book that's on Amazon, you're saying, and also on Instagram, it's Jo Reid.
Just Jo Reid
Just
Coaching.
Jo Reid Coaching.
Yeah.
And people can go there and I suppose can reach out to you through there.
Well, I've got a website, joreidcoaching.co.uk.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in.
We'll check that. We'll put a
yeah.
link in. We'll check it and put a
please.
link in. No, definitely.
So can I ask, what's the one thing that you've taken from our chat?
For me, probably questioning. I put everything down to wanting to feel normal and this big battle and this big challenge of, I feel really low today. Tomorrow I've got to feel better. And in actual fact, I'm probably at war with that when I should be able to just turn around and say, no, do you know what? I'm going to have that day and I've got to accept that. I've got to accept I'm not always going to be at the top. I'm talking about emotional wise. I'm going to be at the bottom sometimes, and I've got to realise that's okay. That's all right. The whole thing about mental health, it's so quick to say, and I'm guilty of it. Oh, my mental health's playing up today. My mental health's playing up. Like I've put a hat on and this hat doesn't fit. It's no good today. And in actual fact, it might not just be mental health. It might be the fact that I'm just having a shit day, and I've just got to accept that. And if tomorrow's a better day, then it's a better day. And I found that a real kind of bit of an eye opener. Even just in the conversation, it was a bit like a light bulb moment for me.
I think one thing that I've picked up over time is that when we say it's our mental health, it's almost like we're powerless and there's nothing we can do about it. But when we look at it as our emotional health, it's almost like, I can do something here. And that power, again, feeling powerful instead of powerless is what I've written in the book. It's we feel powerless so much.
Emotions always feel more short term.
Yeah,
that's for me the emotional. We're talking about painting there.
Yeah. All matte gloss.
But the emotional health, I love that because it does, and I think it makes it feels easier to get rid of it and push it away. And I always think you've got such a good aura about you. I always leave positive after seeing you.
Thank you.
And that's how I feel now. That's what, for me, it's just nice to see you again. And I feel like we've had I know we're saying we don't like sort of little therapy session, but it always feels like a little therapy session because I leave feeling better than
I feel like
an hour ago.
I genuinely feel like I could sit and talk all day and all night. I feel like I could just keep talking and talking and talking, and I'm getting lost at the fact that we're sitting talking on a podcast. For me, we're just having a chat, and I could go on and on and on. So
could I. Trust me, I could bore the legs off anyone, mate. Maybe a little crystal triangle and stuff, but
I don't know if I'm ready for a crystal triangle, but I'll try. Listen, I'm willing to try it, definitely.
Yeah, I've seen these copper pyramids as well. Like, have you seen these? Have you tried one of them?
No. I'm still on my crystal phase.
You're working your way up.
Yeah.
That's level 3, I think. Copper triangles, copper pyramids.
Super.
But remember, we have an intelligence that we have an intelligence. we have this emotional intelligence, and if we pay attention to it, we can help solve some of the problems before we feel like, oh, we've got mental health, we're broke, and sit in the corner, take these tablets, and somebody's going to come and fix you when the waiting list is, getting a bit closer. And that's my mission this year. My mission is to, and also I think for a lot of younger males as well, I'm homing on the males more because I see that how they struggle. And even whether you're a young boxer or you're a young athlete or you're somebody up on the TV, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are on the scale. There's mental health in those positions seems like the worst thing in the world, but we can encourage, especially the younger males, to look at their emotional fitness. It sits differently with them. You're not broken, are you? It's about how you can build your emotional fitness, because that's their language with their physical fitness, So that's what this year's about.
Do you think there's a link between the two as well? As in, like, when you talk about emotions, I know if I do, like today, I've got a long day today. At the end of the day, I'm probably going to feel a lot more vulnerable emotionally than I will at 8 o'clock this morning. Do you think there is a link with sort of stress and tiredness and emotions and, as in people looking after themselves in...
Completely. If you're depleted, then, you wouldn't drive to London if you had no petrol in your car. You wouldn't expect to drive to London with no petrol in your car, but you're okay to expect your body to continually walk to London and back without giving it any petrol.
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
But that's why I love what you've said about it being the emotions, emotional, because I think a lot of people also are sometimes tired. Sometimes you need to just sit back and chill out a bit and take that weekend, and all of a sudden it's not as bad.
Find your peace.
Find
your peace. You'll remember going up the mountain with your girlfriend, your partner. You won't necessarily remember in a couple of years' time going out and buying that Chanel bag that you've worked your arse off for. It's those are the things that are nice. Don't get me wrong, they're all nice to have, but the fundamental thing is what we should be looking for our well-being is finding that thing that makes us peaceful. Rest. Look what you put on your body. I should be on medication for the rest of my life. I'm not taking it. I'll take me kiwis and me cucumber juice of a morning, and I'll take me flax seeds, and I'll do this and I'll do that. And I'll listen to my body. Some days I'll eat a big meal. Some days I won't eat. I'll just eat like a scrambled egg on toast or whatever, because my body's changed as I've got older, and you go through the menopause and all this kind of stuff. So you've just got to listen to everything. If I need to sleep now, I'll do my best to make sure that I go and rest early. I'm going to bed sometimes now, like 9 o'clock at night, because that's what my body wants to fuel the day the next day, so I need to be listening to what I can do. And I get that it's not as easy for everybody. You've got like 9 to 5 jobs and stuff. I get that, so, but even with a 9 to 5 job, and I get a lot of people who are like, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to do that and I don't have the time. But all of those people that live in their house are also capable of doing those things as well, so that you can pull a little bit of your time back. And it's also teaching them independence. It's teaching them, skills in life as well. So, and I've seen this happen where you can be running around and having 1 hour a day to yourself to actually clawing back 4. Now, it's only 4, but it's 3 more than you had. And those 3 more is what you do with that time. It's the quality. So. And
the majority of people probably spend that 3 or 4 hours scrolling through their phone,
Instagram. If I didn't go on Instagram for for my work, I don't use social media. Don't like it.
Which ain't a bad thing. No. I think for me it'll be one of the biggest problems and addictions, in 5-10 years. I think it is now, but I don't think it's recognised. I think it's major, even like you say, depression. Christ, if you spend an hour on Instagram looking at everyone in their false houses that's not even theirs, with their Ferraris and their Lambos, you can see why a lot of people think, my God, I'm failing in life. Yeah. And it's like, you're not.
Yeah. Or I should look like that, or I should be having surgery, I should be having this, I should be having that. And, you know, we all come away with something. You know, none of us are immune to it. But so therefore, try not to put yourself into the lion's mouth as often if you don't have to. I'm not interested in what Janet's doing on Facebook. Like, Janet, you go do Janet. I'm focusing on what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? And I just see so many people invested in looking at what everyone else is doing. Take that time and go and do something. Read something, learn something. And once you start on this new journey, you'll find that you want to, I've just read this book and it's made me now want to go and do this workshop or you know, and Janet's still doing what Janet's doing on Facebook, but you're on a different journey and you're feeling better and you're empowering yourself and you're empowering the people around you as well, because you're showing them that, I can do this. So never underestimate, if you start shining your light in a different direction, how other people can benefit from that.
Yeah. Up your energy. Yeah, nice. Well, look, I think we'll wrap this up now. But it's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah,
you know, just running through this. Yeah, really, really enjoyed that today.
Yeah,
It's been a pleasure.
And anyone read this book,
100%, and check out the Instagram.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well,
and if it's crap, just don't leave a review.
Thanks for that, Jo. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Brilliant.